Hey, what is going on, crypto people? It is the Crypto Siege with another day in the life and the crazy life that is the digital asset space. It is Tuesday. Good morning. It's about 6:15 in the AM on September the 13th of 2022. Interesting time this last couple of days. For me, for sure, with 9/11, with being born and raised in New York, with being blessed to be an air traffic controller, the only gig that I've ever had, and been blessed to do that at the highest level for over 3 decades. It's been a real blessing. But during those decades, I was, there working that day. So yeah, I just needed a couple of, just a couple of days away from kind of doing anything, because it's you remember those days, and it's hard to not be touched and been affected by 9/11. So in many ways, and so yeah, it was just a little some solace, a little quiet time, and to think about that crazy day, and being blessed to be there, and getting everyone down safely without incident, was remarkable. Made me very proud to have been, to be a small part in making that happen safely that day. And just for, kind of thinking about those who lost, right? So it was a very challenging thing for sure. But in any case, we're back, and we definitely feel blessed to now be an early adopter in this new asset class that is the digital asset space. I wanted to talk, I'm going to share some stuff about Jamie Dimon, share a video from Brad Garlinghouse. We're going to talk about that because I just think it's important for us to realize that we are at a point that in the digital asset space where we can no longer afford to be naive about the real war that is going on, not only in this country, but in the world. And that is really, it's a fight for our ability to choose our own money, spend our money, and hold our own money, and to make the choice to walk away from the liquidity pools that are JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. They want us to keep our head in the sands. They want us to bicker amongst ourselves about Bitcoin technology and Ethereum gas fees, so they can keep us manipulated and deceived in their traditional financial products, right? You're going to listen to a video today from Brad Garlinghouse where he says 99% of the banks, in terms of the multi-trillion-dollar space that is cross-border payments, make zero money. And this company called Ripple, with this technology, is disrupting that. And if you think that the upper 1% or 0.5% of the banking is just going to let that happen, you're missing it. You're missing it. And if you don't think that the likes of Jamie Dimon don't wake up in the morning figuring out how to get you back into their liquidity pool, I love you, but you're missing it. That is the goal. That is the goal. This is why I'm so hard on content creators promoting traditional financial products, because they ain't for us, and they've never been for us. It's been a lie for decades. The 401ks and the TSPs and the self-directed, not the self-directed, but the IRAs, these retirement plans, all a lie. All a lie. Yeah, and that's the sad truth. It's never been for us. It's always been for them. The digital asset space, which started with Bitcoin, represents an opportunity for you and I to choose our own money and our own monetary policy, because they can't get it right. They can't get it right. That is ultimately the bottom line. So in any case, guys, just forgive me for my rant. This has been your XRP. I think I was going to quote Jay-Z for a moment, but those content creators who constantly want to point out Bitcoin's technology and freaking Strike and got on Lightning rather, and Ethereum gas fees. I want to quote Jay-Z and say, y'all should just be quiet. There's a bigger picture going on. It's like, right, there's a bigger picture going on, if you understand what I'm saying. Tell me where does 21 million Bitcoin and the idea of never ever being able to make any more, what sound money, tell me how we get to that without the advent of Bit. Just tell me how we get there. Tell me how we get there. I'm waiting. But you want to spend time talking about the technology? Give me a break. Give me a break. You got to think about the bigger picture. In any case, and the war that's truly going on, which is the war to keep you in their liquidity pool. They don't want you walking away from it. They don't want you walking away from it. Yeah, and it's time for us to no longer be naive. You got to read The Pirates of Manhattan, books 1 and 2. You got to read The Creature from Jekyll Island. You got to get the bigger picture. There's a bigger picture to all of this. Listen, in any case, guys, this is your XRP Ripple daily news in around 0 to 10 minutes. Look, the total cryptocurrency market cap is at 1.12 trillion. The Bitcoin dominance is not great. It's at 38.5%. That's not a good number. Bitcoin is at $22,575. Ethereum is at $1,737. XRP is at 35.5 cents. This is just all sideways stuff, right? Because remember, in the end, we are down from $3 trillion. So let's take a listen to something that, again, I think is going to help, hopefully help get the bigger picture. Shout out to Ashley. Ashley has been doing her thing. We appreciate you. We appreciate you taking your time and energy and resources to share with the community, Ashley. Ashley put this out here. I have finally received the video from MIT CNC, where Brad Garlinghouse mentions the 15. This is how important it was. JP Morgan didn't send one executive to the office of Ripple. They didn't send 5 executives to the office at Ripple. They sent 15 executives to the office at Ripple. 15. Make sure no one missed anything. You don't think there's a war going on? Anyway, where Brad Garlinghouse mentions the 15 senior JP Morgan executives in his office. Says not much to see, really, but interesting to hear him talk about JP Morgan's scheming ways. We're going to cover some of that. Jamie Dimon's $13 billion secret revealed. How is a corrupt criminal like Jamie Dimon not in prison for fraud? Got a lot of people in prison for marijuana. But this dude just doing his thing. Unbelievable. Take a listen to Brad Garlinghouse share this.
Token does. It doesn't. When we talk about Jamie Dimon, we first have to recognize where he sits he sits at the top of the global financial infrastructure. There are a few banks, of which JPM is certainly one, that make billions.
He sits at the top of the global financial infrastructure.
Of the global financial infrastructure. There are a few banks, of which JPM is certainly one, that make billions and billions of dollars of profit by virtue of that perch. 99.9% of banks don't make money in this ecosystem in terms of cross-border payments. Jamie Dimon makes a technical term of a shit ton of money by sitting there.
And the billions is profit. So not doing billions of dollars in revenue. It's billions of dollars in profit. And I'll never forget the Greg Kidd interview where he tried to point out to the average Joe and Jane that there's a war going on. When he pointed out, hey, we're going, we as in Ripple, right, and him having $1 billion XRP, we're going against a massive entity. It's a massive entity, right? It's a massive entity. And the one thing that people are missing from it all when they begin to claim to be utility maxis, when in actuality they're XRP maxis, is they're missing the big picture. If we don't win, then we don't win. If you keep thinking that if XRP wins, we're good, you're missing the big picture.
So when I hear Jamie Dimon saying it's a fraud, I think to myself, well, of course he's going to say that. He's talking. I mean, and by the way, there's also people who conspiratorially, he's trying to talk down the price of Bitcoin so JPM can buy it. Like the idea that JP Morgan isn't actively working in the blockchain and Bitcoin space is not true. Frankly, I don't mind sharing. There are about 15 senior JP Morgan people at Ripple's offices this afternoon. Now, unless JP Morgan is going to fire them.
Does JP Dimon know that?
Apparently not. Anyway, so look, that's my thought on the whole JP Dimon thing. I do think there are people who are going to say this is, in the same manner, a very smart investor said to me, in 1997, the whole West Coast was long Amazon and the whole East Coast was shorting Amazon. We saw how that worked out. And his point was basically, look, the West Coast is obviously bullish and, there's some that are very cynical about these things and, we'll see how it works out. On the risk factor, just very briefly, because I don't want to go on too long, but I think what we have to remind ourselves that this has to come back to utility. What problem is the digital asset solving? If it's solving a real problem and it's creating value by solving that problem, then there will be value in the token. I think what's risky is there's a lot of these things, as Juan was saying, that I cannot explain why you need a token. I can't explain what the token does. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think, unfortunately, I think that percentage, particularly in the recent ICO wave, I think that percentage is a very high percentage. I think there is going to be carnage to be had from that. And I think Grant is smarter than I am in many ways, not the least of which is on the law. But, the ICOs, the SEC regulation around securities are designed to protect investors and
innovators and companies creating, right? Not just investors. So again, the bigger picture, guys, I highly encourage you to, consider getting the book by Jeff Booth, right? The Promise of Tomorrow. Really, really understand the true big picture of what is really going on. Really, truly, truly understand the big picture of what is really, really going on and the war that is going on. So Jamie Dimon's $13 billion secret reveal. This is from 2017. 4 years ago, JP Morgan Chase reached a then record settlement with the Department of Justice after, among other things, the bank received a copy of the United States Attorney's draft complaint documenting its alleged role in underwriting fraudulent securities in the years leading up to the 2000 financial crisis. Following the bank's $13 billion financial agreement, the which comes from you and I, and non-activity fees, ATM fees. You promise to keep $500 in your account for 30 days and you only have $490 fee. Following the bank's $13 billion financial agreement, the draft complaint was never filed. Then the bank paid another settlement to prevent a separate legal case from potentially unearthing it. The contents of the draft complaint have long been a financial crisis mystery. A great white whale of a document, at least until now. November 2013, JP Morgan Chase, the nation's largest bank, agreed to pay a back then, $13 billion fine to federal and state authorities in order to settle claims that it had misled investors in the years leading up to the financial crisis. The JP Morgan Chase settlement raised many eyebrows on Wall Street. The huge settlement appeared inconsistent with the oft-repeated narrative of the bank's heroism during the crisis. JP Morgan Chase and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, after all, were appropriately lauded for swooping in to save both Stearns and Washington Mutual, acts of financial patriotism that certainly helped prevent the U.S. economy from further doubling over upon itself. And by the way, there's an insight to this as well, and how Jamie Dimon schemed and plotted very much in the Chapter 11 bankruptcy style, and ended up getting those things for pennies on the dollar. Schemed and plotted and got that Burns thing, burnt Bear Stearns, pennies on a dollar. So it wasn't a rescue attempt. But people wondered why one of Wall Street's ostensible white knights would pay $13 billion, $9 billion of its shareholders' cash, plus another $4 billion in mortgage relief in a government case. During a conference call in the morning that the settlement was announced, Mike Mayo, a veteran Wall Street analyst, asked Dimon and bank CFO Marianne Lake the question that appeared to be on the minds of everyone in the financial services industry. How is it that JP Morgan got front and center with this issue? That it's the Departments of Justice working out an agreement with JP Morgan when JP Morgan performed so well during the crisis. Yeah, here's the one bank, but yet here's the one bank that's paying a $13 billion fine without missing a beat. Dimon retorted, Mike, you've got to ask them, okay? In other words, Dimon seemed to be saying to Mayo, as he later put it in Davos, that the whole thing was unfair. The whole thing was unfair. Perhaps the most pivotal moment in the conversation occurred in September 2013 when the DOJ lawyers shared with Dimon and his attorney a draft of a 92-page civil complaint that Benjamin Wagner, the then U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of California, and his colleagues were prepared to file in federal court. The draft complaint, upon hundreds of thousands of subpoenaed internal JP Morgan documents and interviews with its bankers, employees, and its mortgage-backed securities divisions, and third-party mortgage originator, alleged that the bank's due diligence process had been subverted and ignored during the years before the crisis. In Wagner's narrative, the bank was not nearly the white knight of Wall Street. Not nearly, as they want to say. How is a corrupt criminal like Jamie Dimon not in prison for fraud? Since 2010, the year Bitcoin first to circulate under the leadership of Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan Chase has been charged with 48, I think it's over 50 now, violations of banking and securities fraud. 28,675 million is the total they've paid out in just the past 7 years. This is I think this was from 2017. And it's a slap on the wrist. Slap on the wrist. Fines by politicians whose coffers they filled with money. That, my friends, is the bigger picture. If we don't win, then we don't win. It ain't, if XRP wins, oh, we're good. It just isn't so. Oh, if we get CBDCs and the private ledger, we're good. It just isn't so. The reality is we need a new monetary and fiscal policy. And XRP doesn't represent that. Just doesn't. It doesn't represent that new monetary policy. They're not in that game. The digital asset Bitcoin is in that game because it allows for a new monetary policy, a new thinking around sound money. That is the real fight. That is the real fight, in my humble opinion. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much for hanging out. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed the hangout, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and please do not forget to ring the notification bell. All of those things help with the YouTube algorithm so that we can get to 10,000 subscribers and move on. In any case, we will embrace and finally fix what's broken in the sub count that keeps going to 7,600, then it goes back down. For months now, close to a year, this has been happening. It is crazy. But in any case, we will continue to put out the content like we always do and share with this community. I'm going to end this video like I do all of my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather that we remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating? Or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know. That the battle for you has already been fought. And the victory is yours. Go get it.